What really fired my imagination was the rich environment of D&D. There's just so much you could do with it that it was hard to actually limit it to a smaller amount of things to put in a pinball. I first heard about the potential of Dungeons & Dragons about a year before we started on it. Dwight and I were in the middle of doing Venom, and both of us jumped on it. We thought it would be an incredible license. We both have a history in D&D back when we were younger and playing it.
With all the monsters and all the locations and all the things you can see and all the content, it's really an epic game.
They took a stance of trying to make this like a great adventure inside of a pinball machine. I think that fits with the brand D&D really well.
It's the most creative license that you could possibly think of.
You know, everyone thought, well, we could just pull from the lore. Like, no, that's not what D&D is about. D&D is about you create your own lore, and then we had to create a game out of that. So Zach Prost and I spent months writing the story of the Tyrant's Eye.
I approached it kind of like a dungeon master, kind of like video game writing too. Like, okay, I know we have to come to this point in the end, so how do we weave a story there?
We had Zach take his ideas and create a flowchart. He made this very, very cool, intricate story flowchart. But it's way too big and complex.
I knew that they wanted some evil roots, some good roots, so the flowchart kind of got away with me a little bit.
So then Brian made this diagram, and then I took that and ran with it, and that's how we got to something more like what we have today. So the story begins with Tiamat. Tiamat is the queen of evil dragons. She's a 5-headed dragon.
She is always trying to get out of Avernus because she's been trapped there for unknown reasons.
So the party doesn't know it in the beginning, but they're on a mission to try and stop this ritual from happening.
So we feed the story in little bits as you're playing, and they feel like little adventures that you're going on, little tasks that you need to complete, but they all lead to a bigger story with 3 different endings.
You arrive in Dragonspear Castle. Lysandra convinces you that you need to stop the ritual. She tells you she has learned that Xanathar wants the scepter of the Tyrant's Eye.
My main job was to take the story elements and translate that to actual pinball rules. I ended up writing 30 unique modes in the game, which is crazy to think. Most games have like half of that. So I did my best to make sure that every encounter with a monster felt unique.
You are being attacked by a blue dragon.
Going on an adventure through pinball is one of the things I really wanted to achieve. If you're using Insider Connected, you can pick up where you left off. Not only is it just stats of your character, but it's also your location, what you've completed, your pathway on the storyline, the choices that you made.
Every single character is a different save. Like you can play your paladin and he can pick up where he left off, and it's completely different from when you play your cleric.
It really makes you excited to go at that objective that you've been trying to get across multiple games of pinball.
You see a large red dragon crawling down a pile of gold.
At the beginning of the project, Brian disappears into his sub-basement and he's not heard from or seen for like days. And then eventually he comes out of the sub-basement, a little bit smelly, and he shows me all these ideas he has for the next game we're going to do, and in this case, Dungeons & Dragons.
Obviously, like the dragon. I really wanted a dragon. I wanted the big dragon, the best dragon ever on a game. And we brought on a new person on the team, Tom Malcolm, who came in, and it was his first thing he had to do.
On my first day, Dwight showed me a printout of the layout. Actually, let me show you what he gave me. And he just took a ruler and a red pen and drew the lines. And said, I want it to look from here. I want the head to be here, and then I want it to come down. I want to be able to bash it, and I want it to spit balls. When I first started, I was like, what have I got into?
Tom really knocked it out of the park. We went through a number of different iterations.
So this is the first kind of iteration of the dragon sculpt that we created. We took like a basic red dragon model and tried to fit it around the sheet metal. You can see the head's really small, and it was kind of challenging to make it look realistic that the ball was going to come out this dragon's mouth. So this is the next iteration of the dragon sculpt, where we created the dragon head to be larger to allow for the ball to come out more realistically. But the horns kind of looked silly, sweep back like this. As the dragon progressed, we started to get colors and more textures. As you can see, the horns became larger, and the texture started to appear in the side of the dragon. So when the dragon head's up, the 3-bank target is exposed. It's driven left and right by a stepper motor attached by a belt drive. Then the up-down is a 4-bar linkage that allows us to move the dragon. And then when the dragon's head's down, you can bash the dragon.
The dragon multi-ball is very unique. It has sort of two parts to it. The beginning is a dragon battle where it's not a multi-ball like you've ever seen before.
So he has the ability to shoot pinballs out at you. And your job as a player is try to not let those balls drain while hitting him in the jaw so many times to take him out.
I don't think I've played a game where got this many balls on the playfield at once, but you're not just going after jackpots, you're in a dragon battle.
I think when Dwight first created the mode, he was like really excited. So he was like, come play this, come play this. You're gonna play Dragon Multi-Ball. And it was like so much fun having like all 8 balls in the playfield at once and just trying to keep the game alive.
Yeah, so a gelatinous cube in D&D, it grabs you and catches you in this gel-like material and you can't get out. So we wanted to kind of simulate that.
If you shoot the ramp and it diverts the ball into the gelatinous cube, the ball gets stuck, and then you have to knock it out with another ball and start your multi-ball.
But just to push it up even one more level, we allowed that magnet to also grab balls from underneath.
So the ball can stop and stage the upper right flipper so that it's a nice slow feed and you can easily make the upper right flipper shots. So the action button in the game, when it's flashing orange, if you tap it, it'll raise your shield if your shield is lit. If you want to relight your shield, you can complete the bottom lanes.
Not only are you safe, but you're able to shoot shots off of the shield and perfectly hit maybe the left orbit or the right ramp.
So a dungeon in D&D is a huge part of it, right? Going down in a dungeon, having that experience.
Brian put this up-down trapdoor holds ball scoop thing in the middle of the game, but it has its own feature called Dungeon Crawl. It's half video mode, half pinball.
And this allows you to make shots which will move you forward through a dungeon until you get to a junction point that you have to make a choice. Do I go right? Do I go left? Do I go straight? And each one of those could be something different.
The way the dungeon crawl works is that it changes per week. So a good item might be on the left door, or maybe you have to go straight and then right, and then the following week it'll randomize itself again. Oh, that caused a lot of problems. I mean, imagine, it can change every week. How do you test for that? There was a lot of testing that we had to go through to make sure the game is going to work at all iterations of itself.
When we first heard about the possibility of doing D&D, my mind immediately went to Vince Proce. He's a guy I worked with 20-some years ago in console games, incredible artist, able to draw anything. He had done work for D&D before too, so he was a sanctioned D&D artist. He's like the perfect match.
I've been begging Stern for a backlash for many years, and finally when Dungeons & Dragons came along, it seemed like a pretty good fit for me.
So then when he needed inspiration for what to put on the backlash and so forth, we pulled straight from the story that Zach and I were writing.
I would draw a little vignette of an idea that Zach or Dwight had that might just inspire them to create a whole new storyline of something else and feed off of that. Things just evolved over time.
The cabinet on the Pro is the party meeting Xanathar for the first time. All of the backlashes, all of the cabinet work, straight from our story. They're all climactic scenes.
My favorite part of the whole process was working on the playfield. You're so free. You don't have to worry about perspectives or any kinds of weird stuff because everything can just be in different perspectives. Having things that look like they're in different perspectives on the playfield kind of gives you this illusion that the ball is going in places that it's not supposed to be going, and it drops where it is supposed to be going, and it was pretty cool. Yeah.
So there's this whole battle system that I created, and over 40 monsters are in the game. So artwork-wise, we had a whole pipeline of artists making all 45 monsters or whatever it is.
Oh my God, this game was just insane, packed full of amazing art. A lot of us are D&D fans, and they were just so hyped working on this game. So they poured all their information and passion into the art. So the art style we went for is all hand-drawn. There are some elements of 3D that we're really used to doing. The lead was all from Vince Proce's work on the cabinet art. There are battle modes, and that's encompassing around 50 different iconic monsters. There's cutscenes, that's all hand illustrated, as if a wizard was drawing and illustrating in a spellbook. So a typical Stern game for the LCD, we have roughly about 3 to 7 artists. This one, because it was just so massive, we enlisted an additional 7 artists. So that doubled our team. So the monsters had its own pipeline, the environments had its own pipeline. They're all separated, and it's all according to the artist's talent.
They have so many different monsters and locations, and I think we got a lot of D&D in the game.
Your jackpot has grown large.
So we're making this story, and we're pouring stuff into the game, and at some point, it becomes clear that sooner than later, we're going to have to record speech for all these different characters in the game. Apparently, there's lots of people in Hollywood who play D&D together, and as soon as they started hearing that we were making a D&D game and we needed voiceover talent for it, hands went up.
Come here, tasty traveler.
You can always count on a dwarf.
Time to finish this.
I'm ready to go.
That's oddly specific.
Every single actor brought a different style to what they did, and they were all willing to do whatever we wanted.
The Darkhold Castle or whatever, ruins. You know, I don't want to visit here. Let's visit Lighthold.
Lighthold, gotcha. Let's visit Lighthold next time.
She instructed him to build a large apparatus and perform the ritual of the chosen.
Wow, that's great.
When you're playing the game, it's like you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and Matt Mercer is your Dungeon Master. He's the quintessential Dungeon Master, arguably the best Dungeon Master on the planet. And we got him for our game, which is great.
The town celebrates your triumphant return.
MagicCon, it's a Magic the Gathering and Dungeons & Dragons show, so the people that are there were very, very excited just to see a D&D pinball machine.
The world of D&D has a lot of passionate fans in it. And they may not be pinball fans, but once they hear that there's a D&D pinball, we've seen them really start enjoying it.
That's going to expose pinball to a whole new audience.
Dungeons & Dragons is a great game because it has something for everybody. It has great mechs and toys that if you want to just walk up and fight against a dragon, that's great. Or if you want to work your way through this long story, that's also great.
Anyone can see the final wizard mode, and anyone can get through the whole game and everything that it has to offer.
They're going to be engaging with pinball in a whole new way.
We have the amazing universe of pinball and the amazing universe of D&D just collaborating.
I think you're going to feel like you're playing D&D, but in a pinball form, which is a pretty cool accomplishment, I think.
Apparently, Gary Gygax, who invented Dungeons & Dragons, he would carry a die around. And when people would ask him questions, he would go, wait, 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 and he'd pull out the die and he'd roll it, and then he would tell them whatever the hell he wanted to tell them. Oh yeah, it's time for me to go home.